Howdy, this is Curtis from the MLC CAD Systems Houston office. I'm going to talk a little bit about SolidWorks basics this morning. Learning new skills can be kind of challenging and confusing at times. You may take some time pondering over what these new skills are going to be used for and how you might get to know them, but with some careful thought and time spent practicing, you find you'll be up to speed in no time. So making geometry in SolidWorks is similar to that. We need to learn a couple of basics, and then from there we have a firm foundation to start with. When I start out to make a part or a drawing, I'm going to start with a plane, and this is using a skill that you've had all your life, the ability to take a piece of paper, lay it on the table, and sketch. And the only difference is in SolidWorks we're using planes, just different terminology. And then we take those planes and we sketch or draw on them like with a pencil. We're using entities. So straight lines, rectangles, arcs, circles, splines, and so on. Using these skills, we can then take those 2D sketches that we're so familiar drawing and make three-dimensional geometry. And this is where things really start to change and get interesting. So let's see what it looks like to take those skills and make something that's really delicious. This is SolidWorks 2016. You may have another version, but these skills are going to be applicable across all of those. So SolidWorks starts out with a couple of templates. I'm going to use a template that I'm familiar with, but training templates are there and easily downloadable from the website. So starting out with a part template, this helps me have some of the bases to start my part. So these planes I was talking about earlier, or the pieces of paper I'm going to sketch on. So if I want to sketch, where am I going to go? I'm going to look at the screen and find a tab that says Sketch. And then I'll probably press the button that says Sketch. Very intuitive. I like to start on sketching on the front plane. Kind of develop your own personal habits based off what's simplest and makes the most sense. And then instead of making things difficult on yourself by drawing a rectangle using a bunch of straight lines, you could start out by drawing a center point rectangle. This really saves a lot of time, draws a couple of extra construction lines, all of which are able to be dimensioned. You can see there's a few different rectangles that we can choose from. So this area to the left is the Feature Manager, Property Manager, Configuration Manager, Dimension Manager, and Appearance Manager. And you can see as we hover over things, Display Manager, you can see that SolidWorks tells us what they are. So since you know what this multi-use area is for, let's go ahead and do some dimensions. I'm going to draw an ice cream bar. So I'll add a few dimensions on here to finish things up. And you may have noticed that the lines change from blue to black, quickly indicating that my sketch is fully defined. That means I can't accidentally drag something or screw something up later on. So now that I've got my sketch, I took my piece of paper, laid it down, drew on it with my pencil. I'm going to head over to the Features tab to create an extruded boss or base. So SolidWorks uses the Property Manager to tell me what it wants. It's telling me to choose a plane to sketch on or choose a sketch to make an extrusion from. So I'll choose the sketch I just created. Now, in SolidWorks, I like to use some life skills that help me to remember how to use the tool. And that is when I come home, I check my wife's hair, shirt, pants, and shoes to make sure nothing changed so I don't get in trouble. Same thing in SolidWorks. I start at the top and work my way down. So I've started my extrusion. I'm going to choose an end condition up to vertex, surface. I encourage you to test all these out, see what they mean, see how they work. But the mid plane is what I want to do because I want my sketch to be right in the middle of my part. And then I'm going to head on down to my thickness and add 20 millimeters or maybe something a little bit smaller. You can always hop back and change these dimensions as much as you'd like. I don't need to add draft. A thin feature is simply if I wanted to shell that part, for example. And it's only one contour, so I don't need to select contours. Excellent. I'll hit the green checkbox, which means OK. And I've got some geometry. Now I'm going to create a sketch on this bottom surface. Yes, so what I'm saying is you don't have to just use planes. Once you create a surface, those are available for you to use as well, just like a plane. So use my center point rectangle, add a dimension, and you can see again where items are blue and black. Once I add this width dimension, my sketch turns black. I've got a sketch now. Head over to the feature manager, do an extruded boss. We'll go 50 millimeters. I can use that ruler that pops out, or I can type over here in the property manager for 45 millimeters. You'll notice when you're using SolidWorks, there are many different ways to do the same thing. Now, since I'm creating an ice cream bar, I'm going to use wood on this bottom portion, and I'll use a black color up top for chocolate. I want them to be two separate bodies, and I'll show you why. To create two separate bodies, I'll unmerge my results and head back over to my model. Now that I have these set up, I can go to the Appearance tab, choose a matte rubber. Should be a nice color for my body. And you can see I can color based off the face, feature, body, or part. Well, I want to choose my body because when I come back over and I go to my wood tab, the handle colors separately from the ice cream. This is beneficial when I go to add some fillets. On the feature tab, I can choose a full round fillet. And in order to make this realistic, choose 3 surfaces. Notice I didn't put all 3 selections in the first box. Now the benefit here is that this is always going to be round on the bottom. And I'll show you what I mean by that. When I change this dimension from 10 to 15 and rebuild my model, the round stays. So my kid's pretty clumsy. I've got a nice wide handle for him to grab his ice cream from. Or if I feel like that's not quite right, I can always change it again back to 10. And the round stays as a full round fillet. Do the same thing up top, or I can just add regular fillets on the corners. So we'll do that. We'll add a couple of regular fillets to the corners. I can change this dimension to whatever I'd like. And you can see I've got a nice looking ice cream bar. So I've showed you how to build up geometry, how to sketch on surfaces, do different types of fillets. We'll go ahead and add a chamfer to the edges. Similar to the fillets, only difference is that I'm making a chamfer, which is a straight edge. So that's looking pretty good. Now let's go ahead and do a cut. I need to create a sketch to add a circular cut to my ice cream bar, so it looks like somebody took a bite out of it. That looks pretty good. Sketching on this front surface, I can then come over to Features tab and choose an extruded cut, and we get to see some new end conditions here. Through all means the cut goes all the way through no matter what's there. Even if I add geometry later on before this cut, it will always cut through. Through all both does the same thing in both directions. Up to next is just simply as you might imagine, and I encourage you to go through all of these options to see what each does. I can add draft, and I can choose a separate direction. But for this application, we're going to go ahead and do through all. So my ice cream bar looks like someone with a pretty big mouth took a bite out of it. It's looking pretty good. From here, we'll head back over and I'll show you a little bit of the structure of SolidWorks items. So file structure looks something like this, and it may look a little bit overwhelming, but I'll show you what you should focus on. Right, just now we made a part in SolidWorks. We could take that part and create an assembly from it, or we can create a drawing. And obviously an assembly can be placed in a drawing. Focus on those for now, and then come back to understand what the rest of these items mean. So in summary, we started out with some general life skills that we know and have known and enjoyed for years and years. That is, sketching with a plane or a piece of paper, using a pencil or in SolidWorks entities to create and do something we haven't done before, which is creating features that we can build upon one another, selecting surfaces to make a really delicious treat or the end product that we're hoping for. So in review, those are to create parts used in assemblies or drawings or both. I hope you found this to be very interesting and helpful in your process getting to know SolidWorks. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call us at MLC CAD Systems, 1-800-364-1652. Thank you. Have a great day.